special episode of Wilderness Days. The Rajasthan government has initiated one of the biggest ever projects to save its last remaining tigers. It entails connecting 6 state sanctuaries with a corridor. But before we come to this point, let's first see the kind of threats the tiger is facing in Rajasthan.
The tiger of Rajasthan adds its own special magic to this colorful state. Want a genuine close encounter with a tiger? Then come to Rajasthan. That is what the wildlife tourists are led to believe, and they're seldom disappointed. But today, the issue is about the very fate of the tiger here. Will it be able to survive in Rajasthan, and for how long? This is not just another rhetoric, and coffee table books on the state's wildlife rarely confront the question directly. Let's try to understand the situation firsthand and from close quarters. Let's begin with Ranthambore. Arguably the last remaining stronghold of the tiger in Rajasthan. It's because of the tiger that the forest, lakes, and this imposing centuries-old fort of Ranthambore make this national park one of the most exciting in India. The fact that tigers are spotted rather easily in Ranthambore only strengthens the belief that they are safe here. But Ranthambore hardly holds over 3 or 4 dozen tigers at any given time. And their easy sightings may well be hiding the unpalatable but true state of affairs. A section of environmentalists and naysayers have been claiming for many years now that eventually the tigers of Ranthambore would die down. The logic being offered is that since no tigers from outside visit the park, they are forced to mate with each other to produce offsprings. This intermingling results in a gradual but inevitable weakening of their genes and will lead to their total annihilation one day. Not very far from Ranthambore is another national park in Rajasthan, Sariska. Till over a decade ago, the valleys and grasslands of Sariska would reverberate with the roar of the tiger. But then, something happened. Systematic poaching it was, in all probability. And the roar stopped. Tigers were wiped out from Sariska, all of them.
Not a very rosy picture, you will say, but we believe things are changing for the better. We will tell you what these changes are after a short break.
A massive project is now underway in Rajasthan with a single objective: to remove the proverbial sword hanging over the tiger. After the launch of Project Tiger in 1972 by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, this could well be the biggest gambit yet for the sake of the tiger. And that too in just one state. The Rajasthan government has announced setting up a tiger corridor in the state. The corridor, once established, would allow the tiger to move through 6 sanctuaries in the state. Experts believe that the corridor would not only make life easier for the beautiful but beleaguered tiger of Rajasthan, it would also eliminate the very threat of its existence. The Chief Wildlife Warden of Rajasthan, Mr. S.C. Chaube, is among those who have put their hope on the corridor project.
See, in Rajasthan, we have basically 2 tiger reserve areas. One is Saiska Tiger Reserve and Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. Ranthambore Tiger Reserve has reached a population level where we have about 31 adults and 17 cubs. As these cubs grow, they will be fighting for territory amongst them, and they will be moving out of the area for finding new territories in case they cannot establish territory within the park. Either they will displace the old ones or they will find their own territory. It's not that it will happen now, it has been happening in the past also. And that's why for safe passage of tigers from one park to another national park or sanctuary or another area which is safe for their habitation is essential. These corridors play a very important role in providing a safe passage for these tigers from one area to another. For example, there was a historically old corridor from Sariska to Ranthambore, Darar Sanctuary, and then Kuno Parpur in Madhya Pradesh, so that tigers could move from here to this place traditionally.
The Mammoth Corridor project will connect Ranthambore with 5 sanctuaries: Bharatpur, Sawai Mansingh, Ramgarh, Jawahar Sagar and Darra. These sanctuaries fall under Bharatpur, Sawai Madhopur, Kota and Bundi districts of Rajasthan. The tiger's own recent behavior in Ranthambore points to its apparent desire that it wants to carve out new territories for itself. During the past 3 years, tigers have moved out of the safety of the national park to places as far as Bharatpur and even near Mathura in Uttar Pradesh. One of the Ranthambore tigers, named T35, had travelled to Kota. Another, T38, covered a distance of over 100 kilometers to reach Kuno in Madhya Pradesh. The Sawai Mansingh Sanctuary, situated next to Ranthambore, hardly had a resident tiger. But as late as the winter of 2011, movement of at least 7 tigers and 2 cubs was reported from the sanctuary. It's obvious, point out Ranthambore watchers, that tigers wish to eke out new areas outside of Ranthambore. And if a corridor was in place, they would, in all likelihood, come out of the confines of Ranthambore. Jawahar Sagar Sanctuary in the Kota district of Rajasthan has no resident tiger as of now, but with enough prey base for the big cat like cheetal, sambar and wild boar, it would really be at home. Similarly, the thick forests of Darra and Ramgarh should provide sufficient reasons for the tiger to stay put. The tiger corridor will not mean creating more structures. It would essentially mean giving more breathing space to the tiger. Space in which it can move around freely. And that would imply active participation of the local population.
No conservation in any part of the world, what to talk of India, not talk of India only, in any part of the world can sustain itself without public support. If public is not aware of conserving its own environment, its own biodiversity, nobody on this earth, no matter how much power or how much of development tools you use, yes, you can delay the doom. You cannot deny it. So public support is always required for any conservation program in any part of the world. Of course, it's more important in India because population percent in India is the maximum. The population density in India is maximum in comparison to other countries as such.
Right.
The tiger corridor will not mean creating more structures. It would essentially mean giving more breathing space to the tiger. Space in which it can move around freely, and that would imply active support of the local population. Besides setting up the tiger corridor, the Forest Department of Rajasthan is also keen on preserving its gains. And that's why an eagle eye is kept on the 5 tigers which have been reintroduced in the Sariska National Park. They probably know that any further loss of Sariska tigers would cancel out whatever gains the tiger corridor in the other parts of Rajasthan will provide. When we visited Sariska recently to take stock of the situation, we found the department on their toes at all hours of day and night. All the tigers of Sariska are radio collared. And 3 such tiger tracking teams have been formed to ensure that no harm befalls the big cats.
कि ये लगा लो 5 बजे से और 11 बजे तक और शाम को 5 बजे से रात के 11 बजे तक।
अच्छा, ये आपका काम है कि इसको ट्रैक करना पाँचों के पाँचों।
और बीच में भी कहीं मतलब ऐसी कोई पोजीशन हो तो देखना भी जरूरी है। सुबह 11 बजने के बाद में और रेस्ट इसलिए दिया जाता है कि खाना बना के खा लो आप।
रशीराम जी, कितना चलना पड़ता है आपको सिग्नल के लिए?
सर ये डिपेंड होता है, जैसे गाड़ी का अगर रोड हो तो गाड़ी रोड जाएगी, और रोड से जैसे हमको अनुभव हो रहा है कि भाई टाइगर इस पहाड़ी के परली साइड में नाले में है, तो हमको पहाड़ी चढ़नी पड़ेगी, तो काफ़ी चढ़ाई होती हैं। जैसे बड़ी बड़ी अरावली की हिल्स हैं, इन पे चढ़ के ऊपर फिर सिंगल लेते हैं, तो उससे अगर सिंगल आएगा तो ठीक है, नहीं फिर आगे पैदल जाएंगे तो 15
किलोमीटर तक पैदल चलना पड़ जाता है?
चल जाते हैं सर, 15 किलोमीटर चल जाते हैं।
15 किलोमीटर एक बार, और कई बार गाड़ी 50-100 किलोमीटर भी चलती है।
और कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है जैसे 5-7 किलोमीटर भी चलती है। जैसे मान लो अब हमारा कल से सिंगल यहाँ आ रहा था, तो थोड़ा आगे जाके 2 किलोमीटर आगे जाके चेक कर लिया, फिर यहाँ आ गए, फिर यहाँ चाय वाय पीने हो तो यहाँ आ जाते हैं, नहीं तो फिर हमारा सिंगल वहाँ आता रहता है, वहीं रुक जाते हैं।
फिर आप कैसे ढूंढते हैं?
बस ये सिंगल के अनुसार ही ढूंढते हैं, स्टॉप को पाबंद कर देते हैं, पगमार्क के अनुसार भी देखा जाता है कि इसका मोमेंट कहाँ था, किधर की साइड गई हुई है।
फिर आपको ये भी ध्यान देना पड़ता होगा कि टाइगर को कोई बाहर के आदमी नुकसान ना पहुंचाए।
हाँ जी,
कितनी ऐसी टीम्स बनी हुई हैं?
5 सर। पहले तो फिक्स नहीं था।
हाँ।
पहले तो जैसे नंबर से कभी किसको लगा दिया, कभी किसको लगा दिया, लेकिन अभी सुनने में आ रहा है कि 4-4 आदमी की टीम बना दी एक टाइगर के ऊपर, तो 4 आदमी में से जैसे 15-15 दिन नंबर आएगा सबका,
यानी हर टाइगर के पीछे एक टीम है।
एक टीम।
Of course, not everything is hunky-dory in Sariska. The 2 female tigers have not mated successfully despite their being in Sariska for 2 years now. And the Forest Department, though hopeful that the park would soon welcome the arrival of new cubs, are nevertheless anxious.
It's a very, very important program because the landscape approach of management and conservation of tigers has to be adopted in any case for long-term survival of the tigers. And if you look into the Sariska landscape, we have the Jammu Ramgarh Sanctuary, which is just adjoining to Sariska Tiger Reserve, and also the buffer areas of Alwar Forest Division. So we are all including these forest areas into the buffer of Sariska Tiger Reserve, and probably the Sariska Tiger core area of Sariska Tiger Reserve would have a better continuity with the adjoining forest areas in form of buffer. The same is case with Ranthambore also. The sanctuaries which are adjoining to it, even the Kuno Palpur landscape of Madhya Pradesh is contiguous to it, and this is very, very important program which government of Rajasthan is taking up in coordination with certain funding agencies, and hopefully this will go a long way for the long-term survival of tiger in Rajasthan landscape.
Coming back to the ambitious Tiger Corridor project of Rajasthan, one hopes the proposed path would recreate a link between the tigers of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Old-timers recall that till about 3 decades ago, the tigers would move regularly and freely between the 2 states. The Forest Department of Rajasthan is working silently on the Tiger Corridor project. Barring an official announcement by the Rajasthan government and a few sporadic reports in the media, the project is not really being highlighted. And rightly so. Authorities view it as one of the biggest challenges undertaken for the cause of the tiger anywhere in the country. And a premature celebration may not augur well for the corridor or for the tiger.